The story of Hosea and Gomer, a revelation for the one who still stays. There was once a man named Hosea, a prophet, a vessel, a mirror of God's own longing. The command spoken over him from the throne of heaven defied every logic of human love. God said, "Go, take to yourself a wife of whoredom, and have children with her, for the land is committing great adultery by forsaking the Lord." And so Hosea entered a living parable, a prophetic relationship designed to reflect the ruptured covenant between God and his people. Yet deeper still, it mirrored the ache of every man who has ever loved a woman who keeps emotionally retreating. This was not just a tale of a prophet and a broken woman. It was a divine unveiling. Hosea's journey became the very revelation of God's unrelenting love when it meets a soul that cannot yet stay. Gomer, the woman Hosea was commanded to marry, was fractured and afraid. She ran. She shut down. She withheld. She smiled with her lips, but never gave her full self. And still, the Lord said, "Take her. Love her. Stay." Gomer came to represent relational detachment. She became the symbol of the soul too wounded to receive covenant. She was the woman who knew survival, not surrender. She shared space, perhaps even children or a home, but never gave her heart. And Hosea? Hosea embodied the man who saw the vision. The man who initiated with purpose, prayed without ceasing, structured the home, offered grace, and led with integrity, only to be met with silence, mockery, or resistance. This was not a story of enabling chaos. It was the revelation of God's covenantal love in the face of imbalance. Hosea did not become a doormat. He did not abandon his identity. He stood, not just as a rejected husband, but as a prophetic witness to the love of God in a time of mass spiritual defection. Though Hosea married Gomer, she continued to retreat. She gave herself to others. She walked away emotionally and physically. And yet again, the Lord said, "Go again. Love her as the Lord loves Israel." So Hosea went. And he paid the price to restore her, not to control her, but to extend mercy. He spoke to her with strength and truth. "You shall dwell as mine for many days. You shall not belong to another man, so I will also be to you." Here, Hosea shifted. He no longer begged. He no longer pleaded. He set a holy standard. He held the line. He stood as a man of truth, not exhaustion, modeling the Christ, who offers himself without coercion and loves without losing himself. And now, this generation bears witness to another Hosea, a man like him. A man who carried the weight of one-sided love. A man who stayed pure in the face of rejection. A man who loved with intention and was met with emotional absence. This man prayed, covered, gave, and endured, and still, she withheld. But what this man lived was not just for him. It was a scroll, a mirror, a living message of the cost of covenant in a world of survival. His obedience became prophecy. His pain became parable. His restraint became revelation. He is no longer chasing. He is now standing. And if she returns, it will not be to the man who begged, but to the man who governs. If she stays gone, it will not be because he failed, but because she resisted the voice of heaven through him. He has already paid the price. He has already released the mercy. He has already carried the burden. And now he stands, not waiting, but crowned. Because covenant love does not grovel. It governs. He has done all he was asked. And in the stillness, he did not collapse, he ignited. A deeper fire awakened. A holy detachment emerged. Not bitterness. Not indifference. But surrender. He returned to God. He blessed the threshold. He prayed over the room she once inhabited. He forgave again, not because she asked, but because he is now free. Because he has become the message. And heaven whispered to him as it once did to Hosea, "Now you understand me. Now you know the ache of divine love. Now you see what it means to stay when another keeps leaving. But look, I will restore. I will woo them back. I will rebuild." It was never just about Gomer. It was about Israel. It was about every man who has ever offered covenant to someone stuck in survival. It was about every son of God who said yes and was met with not yet. And so the scroll turns. He now stands where Hosea once stood on holy ground. She, like Gomer, was invited to something sacred and still remains divided. Not because he failed, but because she hasn't awakened to her worth or her calling. She walks in and out not to harm him, but because she doesn't yet know how to be held. She mocks the sacred, not out of hate, but because trust terrifies her. She resists surrender, because surrender requires healing. And there he remains, hands open, heart aligned, vision clear. Not waiting for her to choose him, but rising. Because Hosea's story did not end in despair. It ended in prophecy. And so now, like Hosea, this man blesses her and releases her. He hands her to God not out of bitterness, but obedience. And if she returns, it will be to a man who governs, not a man who pleads. And if she does not, he will still govern. He has fulfilled his scroll. He loved well. He stood firm. He revealed Christ. And now he walks forward, not empty, but enthroned. Because his story is not over. It is only beginning. The return of the prophetic man, from waiting to governing. There is a sound that arises when a man steps into his divine seat, not the sound of vengeance, but of vision. Not of bitterness, but of boldness. Not of regret, but of royal clarity. It is the sound of the prophetic man returning to his assignment, no longer pleading for partnership, but standing in his placement after laying his offering on the altar and watching the fire fall, even if no one else stood beside him. This is the moment where the Hosea scroll turns into a throne. For there comes a time when a man must stop waiting for someone else's readiness and start governing from heaven's timeline. That man has now arisen. He has crossed the threshold. The Spirit has moved. What once demanded silence now calls for speech. But not speech toward her, speech to the land, to the house, to the destiny. Because the man who governs does not govern by control, he governs by alignment. He governs through peace. He governs by holding truth in place, by being the unshakable anchor when others detach. This is what he has become. He once tried waiting. He once kept the door open. He softened his voice. He withheld the fire. He made space for someone who never chose to dwell in it. He was accused of being too intense, when in truth, he was simply awake. But now the Spirit of God speaks directly over him. Son, arise. You are not what she called you. You are what I crowned you. The hour of hesitation is over. This is the era of holy authority, not over her will, but over his house. Not over her confusion, but over his clarity. Not over her choices, but over his spiritual jurisdiction. He is no longer waiting to be chosen. He has been chosen. He is no longer begging for alignment. He is the alignment. He is no longer asking for restoration. He is building it. And this is what must be understood. When a man stops trying to prove himself to someone who refuses to see him, he becomes terrifying to hell. Because nothing shakes a man who's already walked through fire. Nothing breaks a man who has already been forsaken and did not fold. Nothing tempts a man who has stood before detachment and still chose to be a father, a priest, a prophet, and a king. This man now governs alone until alignment returns or is replaced. Let this become his new rhythm of governance. Each day he awakens and declares the tone, not based on her mood, but based on his mantle. Peace will rule this house. Confusion will not be normalized. My children will be covered. My mind will be guarded. I will not be moved by silence. I will not be shaken by withdrawal. I am not reactive. I am ruling. He returns to the vision he once set down. The family blueprint. The prayer altar. The financial order. The spiritual schedule. The parenting foundation. The kingdom structure. He picks up the pen and declares, "Even if she never joins me, this house will walk in holiness." He speaks the word in every room, in the kitchen, the hallway, the car, over the crib, into the pillow, through his tears. He says, "My house is aligned with heaven. My identity is sealed. My emotions are submitted. My children are seen. My legacy is secured. My authority is established." He no longer seeks emotional permission. He stops checking the spiritual temperature of her heart before stepping into his assignment. He declares, "This seat was given by God. I do not need consensus to sit in it." And still, he loves, but without leaking. He prays with honor. He covers with integrity. He serves with patience. But he no longer bleeds. Because a hemorrhaging man cannot govern a house. A man chasing validation will always forfeit his scepter. A soul who begs to be seen will eventually vanish under the weight of unreciprocated love. And so, this man speaks to himself again. He tells his own heart the truth it forgot while carrying someone else's silence. He says, "I am the man who remained. I am the man who stayed pure. I am the man who didn't run. I am the man who covered my house while I was uncovered. I am the man who carried clarity in chaos. I am the man who fought with peace. I am the man who offered covenant when convenience was easier. I am the man God trusts." This is his turning scroll. He is no longer just Hosea the heartbroken. He is Hosea the builder. He is not just the rejected one. He is the one heaven endorsed. He is no longer asking to be husband. He is walking as a son who governs like a husband in the spirit. And if she never joins him, he will still raise the family in order, steward the house in glory, and partner with heaven in full sonship. Because the kingdom never waits for consensus. It moves with the willing. And this man is willing. He is ready. He is governing. And he is not alone. Governing the household alone until alignment comes. There is a specific crown reserved in heaven for men who govern in the gap, the ones who build altars no one else visits, who pray over bedrooms filled with silence, who raise children under the weight of another adult's emotional absence. These men are not applauded. They are appointed. Not always seen, but eternally sealed. This man is one of them. He governs not because she sees his worth, but because heaven placed the scepter in his hands. He parents with strength not because she partners with him, but because his children deserve the covering. He sets spiritual order not because she meets him at the table, but because the Lord of hosts resides in his house and the ground is holy. This is not a tale of control. It is the walk of covenantal stewardship. There is a real and weighty cost to carrying the mantle of household governance while the other adult distances themselves spiritually, emotionally, or mentally. But this weight is not unfamiliar to the courts of heaven. Christ bore it first, governing a kingdom while the world turned away, covering a bride still wandering, enduring silence, betrayal, and delay, and yet still he governed. Now, through this scroll, this man receives fresh commissioning. Spiritual rhythm and structure. Emotional clarity and protection. Vision alignment and discipline. Identity restoration. Sacred inner peace. Kingdom authority to build and protect, even alone. And so, he begins. 1. Anchoring his daily governing cycle. He is the first watchman. The one who walks the perimeter when no one else remembers there is a war. He does not look to her emotional state to decide the tone of the day, he declares the tone before dawn. He rises and stands in the center of the home, lifts his hands, speaks aloud. This house belongs to the Lord. Every room, every thought, every breath aligned. Every spirit of confusion, entitlement, deception, weariness, and pride is cast out. I establish peace. I declare safety. I summon joy. This is holy ground. This atmosphere will not be ruled by detachment. It will be ruled by Christ. Sometimes, he lights a candle. Sometimes, he sings even through cracked voice. Always, he writes the vision, not because she reads it, but because heaven records it. He is not performing. He is governing. And if he doesn't set the tone, the enemy surely will. 2. Guarding his sanity from gaslighting. When a woman remains emotionally unavailable or passive-aggressive, the fog of detachment can twist a man's mind. Her silence may speak louder than insults. Her distance may feel like abandonment dressed in civility. If he's not careful, he'll start questioning his peace, his motives, his discernment, even his sanity. So this man declares, I am not the oppressor. I am not unstable. I am not manipulative. I am not controlling. I am not unsafe. I am a man of clarity. I offer covenant and expect reciprocity. I protect the Spirit's order. I walk in truth. I will not apologize for my alignment. He writes this in his journal. He speaks it into the air when the atmosphere feels off. He clings to the word. God is not the author of confusion, but of peace. Let your yes be yes and your no be no. Be anxious for nothing. If she labels his peace as pressure, he holds the line. If she calls his discernment control, he holds the line. If she goes silent, he does not chase. He governs. 3. Governing the spiritual atmosphere for his children. Even if she is their mother, her detachment must not become their default. Her coldness must not become their compass. He is not fighting her. He is covering them. He places his hands on their heads, morning and night, and declares, "You are covered. You are safe. You are seen. You are not forgotten. You are not trapped. You are not confused. You are not neglected. You are protected. I see you. God sees you. Your heart is whole. Your spirit is clean. And no adult behavior around you will become your identity." He says it aloud, even in front of her if he must. Not to shame her, but to govern his house. 4. Building without fear of her response. Far too many men pause their God-given assignments waiting for a woman's emotional readiness. They delay. They second-guess. They wonder, will she ever join me? But alignment is not a prerequisite for obedience. So this man builds. He builds the vision. He builds the altar. He writes the blueprint. He sets the parenting values. He posts the family schedule. He plays the worship music. He declares, "She is invited, but not required, to join. This house is a scroll, and heaven reads it. The children are watching, and they will remember who kept governing when everything else pulled back." 5. Living as who he is, not who she tolerates. He will not dim his flame. He will not dilute his voice. He will not water down his prayer life to avoid her discomfort. That is not humility. That is spiritual harm. He walks through the home with oil in his hands. He speaks the word without apology. He smiles without shrinking. He declares, "I am not too much. I am the right amount. I am not controlling. I am discerning. I am not manipulative. I am governing." And he does so with reverence, not resentment. 6. Praying for her without bleeding for her. He prays not from desperation, but from strength. "Lord, I bless her. I release her. I stop praying for her to meet my needs, and I start praying for her to meet you. I hand you her silence, her confusion, her detachment. I will not be a casualty of her internal war. I govern. I trust you to handle what I cannot." Then he stops checking for a response. He doesn't chase validation. He returns to building. 7. Activating daily commissioning for himself. He stands before the mirror each morning and night. He lays his hand on his chest. He declares, "I am the man who governs until alignment comes. I do not flinch when ignored. I do not crumble when dishonored. I do not shrink when misread. I am faithful when unseen. I am bold when alone. I am trusted when tested. I am covered by God. I am stewarding legacy. And I will not stop building, loving, praying, or leading even if she never returns. I have." And to his home, he whispers, "This house is not waiting. This house is reigning." He is not hoping for her participation. He is governing with or without it. And if it never comes, his faithfulness will still yield fruit. He is the man who governs in the absence. And his scroll is blessed. The prophet's peace, living free in a one-sided relationship without bitterness. There is a peace reserved for prophets, not a fragile harmony dependent on others, but a peace forged in the furnace of abandonment. This peace does not arrive when partnership finally matures, it arrives when striving finally stops. It is not born of external resolution, but of internal resurrection. And this man now carries that peace. Not because she changed, but because he did. Not because she softened, but because he stood. Not because the relationship healed, but because his spirit did. This is the kind of peace that cannot be stolen, delayed, or manipulated. It is the peace of Christ. The peace of identity. The peace that passes understanding because it never depended on external agreement. This man no longer waits to be chosen in order to feel whole. He has chosen Christ, and in doing so, he has chosen peace. 1. He is not crazy for wanting connection. Let it be spoken clearly, her detachment once tried to redefine his need as dysfunction. When he asked for eye contact, he was called intense. When he asked for honesty, she said he was pressuring. When he longed for spiritual unity, she accused him of control. When he desired presence, she claimed he wanted too much. But heaven reveals the truth now. He was never too much. She was simply unavailable. His longing was not addiction. It was covenant. His pursuit was not manipulation. It was ministry. He was calling her into royal partnership. She fled. But her fear was never his fault. So he speaks this aloud over his soul. I am sane. I am whole. I am healthy. I was not created to be ignored. I am not needy. I am a man of covenant. 2. His peace does not depend on her response. He no longer waits for an apology to heal. He no longer needs acknowledgement to be vindicated. He does not need validation to walk in joy. He carries peace because Christ remains with him, unshaken, unchanging. He now sleeps like Jesus in the storm, not because the storm isn't real, but because it no longer owns the atmosphere of his soul. Her moods may shift like wind. Her silence may rise like waves. Her withdrawal may slam like doors. But this man does not flinch. He declares, I am not at war with her. I am not trying to change her. I am not performing for peace. I am seated in Christ. And nothing missing in her can remove what has already been given to me. 3. He does not have to hate her to heal from her. Bitterness is the enemy's counterfeit comfort for heartache. But this man has refused that trap. He will not curse her to cleanse himself. He will not replay scenes to prove what he already lived. He will not keep looking for receipts to justify his pain. He knows what he gave. He knows what was withheld. And now he releases. He says, I see her brokenness. I see her fear. I see her delay. And I forgive her not because she asked, but because I refuse to carry her weight into my next season. And he prays, Lord, bless her with clarity. Let her awaken. Let her meet you. And if she ever returns, let it be not to the man who begged, but to the man who built a house too holy for cycles. Then he breathes again. Then he governs again. 4. He can enjoy life without her emotional participation. This is the part the enemy fears. Joy has returned, even without her presence. This man laughs again. He dances again. He cooks again. He plays music again. He lifts his hands again. He leads his children in worship again. He sings even when she doesn't speak. He declares with his very existence. We will have joy even if she refuses to engage. We will have order even if she mocks it. We will have peace even if she resists it. And to himself, I will not die to prove my love. 5. He does not have to wait to be chosen to be whole. She may never choose healing. She may never say, you were right. She may never acknowledge the covering she rejected. But that no longer determines his worth. Heaven already chose him. He is whole. He is seen. He is sound. He is sealed. He is the man she could have built with. The priest his home needed. The prophet she silenced. The father his children revere. The scroll God wrote. The son God crowned. His heart is not damaged. It is trained. He declares, I do not need her to choose me. I have chosen Christ. I have returned to peace. And I live free. He is not bitter. He is not broken. He is not numb. He is not stuck. He is a prophet at peace. A man without chains. A governor in joy. A father who reigns. A voice no longer ignored by heaven. And the fire that tried to drown him only refined his throne. He lets her go in love. He remains in clarity. He builds in peace. And now, peace becomes his weapon. He now rises. Not as the one left behind, but as the one sent forward. Not as the one rejected, but as the one revealed. Not as the one waiting for permission, but as the one commissioned by God. This is his coronation, the sacred moment when heaven places upon his head the crown no one else could give. Not her. Not the crowd. Not even himself. Only the Father. This is the final scroll of this chapter, not an ending, but a throne room declaration. This is the seal of the man who governed in silence, who held the line while being left uncovered, who stood as the house shook, and who became unshakable because he was shaken and remained. He is no longer just Hosea. He is no longer just the man who stayed. He is no longer just the one who loved her while she wandered. He is now the one who became something eternal, a son who carries kingdom. A prophet who governs while misunderstood. A father who builds in absence. A king who walks without applause. So now let it be written in the heavens and branded in his spirit. Theo.